Good evening. This is a regular City Commission meeting for the City of Largo. Today is Tuesday, December 19th, 2023. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask that if you have a cell phone, please turn it to silent or off so that we don't have any interruptions. We're going to start this evening's meeting with an invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation will be given by Pastor Stephen Arnold from Grace Family Church. Please rise.
God, we just ask that you would be in this moment here with us. And Father, as we decide the paths in which we need to take and send this community down, help us to realize that each and every one of us are responsible for each other. Help us to see that we don't just affect ourselves, but the next generation. Help us to lead with truth and honesty. And Father, we invite you into this room. We ask that you would be in every single detail and process and system, Father. We understand that there is something greater than us. There's community, there's hope, but also, and most importantly, there's love. And we do all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. We have a couple ceremonial items. We'll start with recognition of Largo Elks Lodge 2159.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners and staff. Tonight we would like to take a moment to recognize the Largo Elks Lodge for their selfless generosity that exemplifies the spirit of community and collaborative partnership that makes the City of Largo a community of choice in Tampa Bay. It is the mission of the Largo Police Department to uphold the law with integrity and honor by protecting life and property, reducing crime, and sustaining strong community partnerships. Tonight I would like to recognize the Largo Elks Lodge for their donation of over $9,000 to the Largo Police Department Senior Assistance Fund. LPD patrol officers, POP team officers, and other sections of the police department utilize the Senior Assistance Fund as a means of crisis intervention to provide direct assistance to Largo seniors both before and during a crisis. This emergency assistance fund serves to provide housing for the unhoused elderly. It additionally provides services for disabled seniors and financial assistance for vulnerable elders without power, utilities, and food. Furthermore, over the 5-year tenure of the LPD Senior Services Partnership with the Elks Lodge, the Senior Assistance Fund has additionally served to provide fraud prevention education and strategies to over 4,500 seniors across Largo. The Largo Police Department Senior Assistance Fund plays a pivotal role in providing crucial support to our elderly residents, ensuring that they receive the assistance they need, especially in times of vulnerability. Over the next year, the funds provided by the Largo Elks Lodge will undoubtedly go a long way to enhancing the services and support offered to our seniors, allowing them to live with dignity, security, and peace of mind. It is heartening to witness such acts of kindness and generosity where organizations like the Largo Elks Lodge step forward not for recognition or acclaim, but out of genuine concern and care for our Largo seniors. Their support is a symbol of hope, compassion, and affords the opportunity for sustainable aging and place for our senior residents here in Largo. In closing, I'd like to once again extend our deepest gratitude to the Largo Elks Lodge for their generosity and commitment to serving our community. Their contribution will have a lasting impact in the lives of at-risk seniors, leaving an indelible mark on the fabric of our community that truly makes the City of Largo the community of choice in Tampa Bay. At this time, I'd like to call up the Largo Elks Lodge for recognition. Inside here is our current Largo Police Department patch and our Centennial patch celebrating 100 years of service to the community through empowering partnerships such as that in Largo Elks Lodge. Thank you. Thank you.
Next item is a proclamation declaring December 21st, 2023 as Homeless Persons Memorial Day.
Whereas December 21st, 2023 marks the first day of winter and is the longest night of the year, and whereas hunger and homelessness continue to be a serious challenge for many Largo residents who have the right to adequate food, housing, clothing, safety, and health care, and whereas homelessness raises one's risk of illness, injury, and death, and whereas December 21st has been designated National Homeless Persons Memorial Day by the National Coalition for the Homeless and the National Health Care for the Homeless Council, and is so recognized by cities nationwide, and whereas by joining together and remembering our neighbors, we can honor their lives by working to provide solutions that make homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurring within the city, and whereas the Homeless Empowerment Program serves Pinellas County by providing homeless and low-income individuals and families, including veterans, with housing, food, clothing, and support services necessary to obtain self-sufficiency and an improved quality of life, and whereas in this season of generosity and sharing, residents of Largo are encouraged to commit themselves to promoting compassion and concern for all, especially those who are experiencing homelessness, and whereas in remembering those who have died on the streets, the cause of ending homelessness is kept urgent, as is the city's collective commitment to preventing such deaths in the future. Now, therefore, I, Louis Woody Brown, Mayor of the City of Largo, Florida, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim December 21st, 2023 as National Homeless Persons Memorial Day in the City of Largo.
Good evening, Commissioners, City leadership, and community members. December 21st is the first day of winter and the longest night of the year. It is nationally recognized as Homeless Persons Memorial Day, and on this day, we recognize those community members who have died, and we strengthen our resolve to work for a world where no life is lived or lost in homelessness. In 2022, the city committed over $1.1 million of ARPA funding to be spent in the next 3 years to expand the city's services to people experiencing homelessness. This expansion includes additional team members to provide homeless outreach, as well as a partnership with the Homeless Empowerment Program to provide shelter beds and case management. This year's recipient of the proclamation, Homeless Empowerment Program, provides homeless and low-income families and individuals, including veterans, with housing, food, clothing, and support services necessary to obtain self-sufficiency and improved quality of life. I would like to invite Ashley Lowry, President and CEO, to share more about the city's partnership with Homeless Empowerment Program and its impact in our community.
I'm afraid you're not getting Ashley. Ashley was unable to come tonight, and so she called me and said, can you fill in for me? Which is hard shoes to fill. I am Barbara Green, and I'm the founder of HEP. Been around a long time and saw a lot of homelessness. And I'm always so pleased when cities do get involved with service providers because we can do so much more with partnerships. And so I just want to say that we're grateful to Largo, especially to the police department and to the grant that we received. And we recognize that every day is a bad day for homelessness. And unfortunately, it's not getting any better. It seems to be getting worse. And so partnerships like this and recognizing days that we need to recognize there is an issue with homelessness. So I thank you, and HEP thanks you for this.
Sure, actually.
Oh, thanks.
Next, we'll have citizens comment. If you'd like to speak about something on the agenda outside of the consent docket, please wait until the item comes up. Do we have any cards this evening?
Yes, we have 2 cards. First is Matthew Faustini. Yes, I am that crazy Floridian wearing flip-flops and shorts. Good evening, everyone. Matt Faustini, 1015 Lake Palms Drive, Largo. First, I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to serve on our planning board this last year. Thank you for the trust that you instilled in me in January with your vote to put me on that board. It's been an amazing experience so far, and I look forward to putting my whole heart and soul into the Housing for All plan next year. This is probably the most important plan this city has done since we adopted the comprehensive code in the 1970s. This is a once in a 50-year opportunity. So I know there are difficult choices ahead to be made. There are difficult votes ahead to be taken. Not everyone will be winners in this process. So I urge you all now not to lose your nerve. We have to understand that hard and difficult decisions will have to be made. And that doesn't negate or wash away the impact or hurt or pain of those people. And they should be heard. But we have to do what's best for all 80,000 plus residents, not just what's best for one neighborhood or one area of the city. Lastly, I just wanted to wish this commission, our city manager, attorney, and all the city staff amazing Christmas, holidays, and an amazing New Year. And I look forward to seeing you all at the Housing for All Forum on the 8th.
Thank you, and thank you for serving on the planning board.
Next speaker is Mark Clutho.
Mark Clutho, Largo. Let me start with this note that I got on the windshield of my car. It says, "Neighbor, if you think the man in the White House has been better for this country than Trump, you must definitely have rocks in your head. Merry Christmas." Well, I don't consider the person that wrote that a neighbor. The fool that thinks anybody that lives in Largo had Trump do anything for a person living in Largo? Yeah, right. So you all got the photograph? What happened down south of here from Hurricane Ian? And this house that's has to be rebuilt? But you see what else is in the photograph, don't you? Those cabbage palms, the state tree, which of course aren't trees, but they look like nothing ever happened. And in this photograph, they depict how they grow naturally in a grove effect. Not like you like to plant them in a line like marching soldiers. They can be like a bulletproof shield protecting buildings. They have evolved along coastlines where they'll stand up to hurricanes. Out here are the date palms that you planted that shouldn't be used in subtropical Florida. They're disappearing, aren't they? Thousands of dollars a piece. You don't know what you're doing. Yeah. The future's dim. That eyesore up there on West Shore, that new City Hall, is only going to make it worse. a shame.
Thank you.
That's all the cards.
Thank you. Next up is approval of tonight's agenda.
Move approval. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Next is a consideration of the minutes from the regular meeting of December 5th, 2023.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Could I hear the consent docket, please?
Item 5, approval of the public facility subrecipient agreement with Directions for Mental Health doing business as Directions for Living in the amount of $68,002 for improvements to the Largo Children and Family Center. Item 6, approval of the third amendment to the Community Development Block Grant COVID-19 Public Service Agreement for Society of St. Vincent de Paul, South Pinellas Incorporated, to allocate additional funding of $15,483 to add housing, navigation, and landlord liaison services and extend the contract period from January 31st, 2024 to February 29th, 2024. Item 7, approval of settlement of the lawsuit style Brian Childs v. City of Largo in the amount of $70,000. Item 8, blanket authorization for Mayor Woody Brown and Commissioners Michael Smith, Curtis Holmes, Eric Gerard, Jamie Robinson, Donald Holk, and Chris Johnson to attend various meetings and events during fiscal year 2024 for which they may be designated to represent the City of Largo. Item 9, authorization to purchase police vehicle radio and computer equipment with installation from Motorola Solutions in the estimated amount of $192,653. Item 10, award of scope and fee to Kimley Horn Associates Incorporated, RFQ number 19-Q-666, in the amount of $155,000 for the Clearwater Largo Road Complete Streets Concept Plan. Item 11, authorization to enter into a 36-month agreement with WOW Business for 10 GB citywide internet service and point-to-point Ethernet connection service for the Environmental Services Plant, Southwest Recreation Center, Largo Golf Course, Fire Station 38, and Fire Station 42 from WOW Business at the estimated total cost of $319,000.
Thank you. You've heard the consent docket. Could I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the consent docket without commission discussion and including staff background provided in the commission packets. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Item number 12 is ordinance number 2024-01.
Mayor, before we get started, I believe this is a continuation of the prior public hearing. Is that the right? Correct. Yeah, so the word, that's the,
It's not actually a second reading.
no, it is a second reading, but you'd already commenced the public hearing. So the only real practical effect of that is Diane doesn't have to read the title again. But otherwise, you're in the midst of that public hearing, so I just wanted to make sure we're at the understanding where we are in the process.
Understood. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. This is a continuation of the second reading of ordinance number 2024-01, which is an amendment of the Code of Ordinance, Chapter 11.
Could we advance the next slide, please?
Just a brief overview of what we'll be discussing tonight. So this second reading was continued from the November 21, 2023 Commission meeting. Commission had a directive to review boat classification and boat trailer language. At the second reading, the commission directive was to research both boat length, clear up the language concerning boat trailers. Just a reminder that the first reading on October 17, 2023 was approved 6-1. Next slide, please. For our research findings, we found that boat classifications, a Class 1 boat is considered to be between 16 and 26 feet. Several other municipalities, when you had a boat stored on a boat trailer, consider that to be one recreational vehicle. and the average trailer tongue length for these boat trailers was between 5 and 10 feet. So the amendments we're bringing forward is to increase that maximum vehicle length from 25 to 26 feet. When a boat is stored in a boat trailer, count that as one total recreational vehicle and not count the trailer tongue length towards the total length of that recreational vehicle. Next slide. And staff is available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? I have a question concerning it says in the wording that you can have one recreational vehicle, whether it be a RV or a boat,
Yes.
in the front yard, and then one additional in the backyard. Is that correct?
Yes.
So is there currently a limit in the backyard in the city?
Currently, there is not.
Okay. So it said one additional in the backyard. So could you put two in the backyard?
The way it's written, no.
Okay. So my preference would be, I think my preference would be to not limit if they're in the backyard, but just limit one per front yard, and any boat or RV has to be properly licensed if it's on the property.
Yes,
Somebody-
that would fall under the inoperable vehicle ordinance.
Yeah. So if somebody has, an RV and a boat, they want to keep the RV in the front yard, they could have a boat, and let's say the teen has a John boat on a little trailer that's properly tagged and licensed, and they're going to put that in the backyard. I'm okay with that. Currently, they could do it. They wouldn't be able to park anything in the front yard. I think that the challenge is the reason we're having this conversation is because it's hard to enforce that front yard thing with the current setback and all that. I'm not real keen on allowing RVs and boats in the front yard. I understand that some people have a challenge storing their boat, whether it's financially or they don't have access to get it into their backyard. I understand that. I'm not sure that I'm in the majority here on the commission as far as allowing or not allowing boats in the front yard or changing that rule. But I don't think further restricting in the backyard is necessary, as long as those boats are operable and RVs or whatever it is operable and it's in the backyard. Because I think there's probably, I know there are, full disclosure, I don't have 3 recreational vehicles on my property, but I know that people do that have a small boat and a little bit bigger boat and maybe a trailer or something. I think that we might take some properties that are in compliance now and make them out of compliance if we do that. Commissioner Holmes?
I'm working on the math here. See, in my neighborhood, when I say mine, it's a couple blocks away. There's a guy, he's got a boat in his front yard, and I'm just taking a guess that between the boat and the trailer, it's probably 35 feet. It's big. I mean, it fills the whole front yard, and we don't have little bitty lots, but it fills the front yard. And I mean, to me, I'm not going to pass judgment because I don't have a dog in the hunt. But when you show these vehicles where you've got a front yard, which is nothing but an SUV, I mean a recreational vehicle or a boat, to me that looks kind of trashy. But that's just like me. That's my opinion only. But I'm trying to get this thing figured out. So if you've got somebody who's got an RV and he can have a total under this thing here of 26 feet on a boat that counts the trailer. No, you got to explain that again.
So if the boat was on a trailer, we would only count the length of the boat itself.
Of the boat.
The length of if the trailer tongue.
The 10-foot tongue wouldn't make any difference.
It would
then.
not count towards the total length of the
Okay,
vehicle, no.
so if they've got an RV in the front yard and they got a boat on the trailer in the backyard and he's got 2 jet skis on another trailer, so he couldn't have one of those 2 in the backyard then?
Yes, because that would be 3 total.
Although
The boat on the trailer would be one, the jet skis on the trailer would be one, and the RV would be one, so that'd be 3 total. So the way it's written now, that would not be allowable.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Gerard.
Vice Mayor.
Sorry, Vice Mayor Gerard.
I don't get it from that
Commissioner's
long.
not wrong.
I don't get it from that long. Mayor, I heard what, I heard your discussion, and I'm considering it, that there's some valid points there to make life better for families who might have more than one, recreational vehicle, whatever it might be. Have you considered whether there ought to be a cap on the number? If you have a large family with everybody wants a jet ski and such, how many could go into have you thought about how many, is a logical number for a backyard?
No, I haven't really thought about that. I do know that there are some properties in Largo that are, that are 5 acres, right? So if they have, at the back of their 5-acre lot, they have a couple boats and they park their RV under a carport back there or whatever. It's not my neighborhood, but there's plenty of room for recreational vehicles, and they probably have the money to have those. I'm a little bit less concerned about that than I am about the 1 per backyard restriction, because I think that encourages, if you've got a boat and an RV, you would have to park one of them in your front yard. So that's my biggest concern, but I also don't think that we necessarily have to have limit 1 for front yard and 1 for backyard.
No, I understand. And we want to do what's right for the folks who live here. We do live in an area where there's a lot of boating and, and RVs are very popular. If we were to pass this ordinance, this might be for Alan, if we pass this ordinance as written tonight, there's nothing that precludes us from coming back and amending later on, right?
Right, of course.
Of course. So maybe there'd be a worthwhile discussion to bring it back up a little bit later, rather than writing in an amendment right now,
Well, I'll tell you, I think it's a mistake to require one of them to be in the front yard. If somebody has a boat and an RV, as it's written right now, we would require one of those to be parked in the front of the house, where they may have been peacefully in the back of the backyard, since they got them. So I'd prefer not to do that. And we could talk about whether there needs to be a maximum, or, whether we can say, okay, the maximum's 3. I don't really know. We don't have a maximum now. Is that correct?
We do not, and technically we don't have one in the front yard either, as long as they're beyond the setback. So if you have a large front yard, you could technically have a dozen boats in your front yard.
Yeah, if your house is set way back or whatever. Yeah, I don't think, I'm fine considering a maximum number of recreational vehicles, but I think forcing one to go in the front yard if you've got 2 is I don't think that's a great idea. And then I think that the example with somebody that's got a boat, a jet ski, and an RV, I'm not in that situation. I'll bet there are people in Largo that have that situation where they've got 3 recreational vehicles and they've been parked in their backyard for a long time, and maybe they use them all the time and maybe they don't, but I don't think we necessarily need to make that no longer complying with our code. Commissioner Holmes.
What if you've got a house that sits on 3/4 of an acre and they decide that they want to put their vehicles out back? So we're not going to allow that then, will we? It's a big lot. I mean, they got all kinds of room to do it, but under this ordinance, they're going to get 1 in front, 1 in back. That's it.
Yes.
Despite the size of the lot. Why don't you put this on a sliding scale? Do the number of vehicles you can have based upon the size of the lot. I mean, it's understandable. You're putting this thing down to one size fits all. I mean, if you've got some houses in the city of Largo that they're sitting on an acre or more, and we're going to tell that person, well, no, you can have you can have 1 RV in your driveway and 1 behind the house. And you say, well, my property line is 250 feet that way. Well, that's too bad. We got an ordinance, you can only have 1 in front, 1 in back. If you had a sliding scale based upon the size of the property, you might have something a little more malleable to the public than just saying one size fits all. I mean, there's some pretty big lots out there, and you're just gonna do, this is all you can have, period. I mean, I would like to entertain something like that, where you've got a sliding scale based upon property size.
Thank you, Commissioner Hulk.
I was just wondering, so if, another alternative would be if people put these in their garage, that's not going to count towards anything, correct? So if they put their jet skis or John boat in their garage, then, and close the door, then they can still have one out back, one out front, correct? Okay. To me, this just keeps getting more and more confusing the longer we talk about it, because, I mean, the size of the property does make a huge difference, and if you've got room to put 2 boats in your backyard and one in the front, and still stay within the setback, I don't know. Okay, sorry. Thank you.
That's all right, thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
I'm with you, Mayor, on the fact that, I would hate to force RVs into the front yard because we only have a rule for one in the back. I don't know if that would take somebody making a complaint in order for that to be an issue. I would think most of the neighbors would rather have it in the backyard than in the front, one in the front and, one in the back. So, I can see a limit. I can understand that. And I think Commissioner Holmes made a good point on the size of the property. If you do have a 5-acre lot, that might be a different situation than if you have a half-an-acre lot. But I know we don't want to make this overly confusing, but I do think, we should amend the ordinance to not punish people for having more than one in the backyard, or basically forcing a RV or recreational vehicle into the front yard. 26-foot boat is a really big boat to have in the front yard, but I understand keeping it within that classification. I mean, I think anything bigger than that, you are talking, shrimp trawler size, stuff. So that's a good sized boat. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, and I certainly understand the sentiment of Commissioner Holmes's suggestions. I mean, we started this to make things simpler. I'm not sure a sliding scale is simpler. I might suggest that, I think there's appetite up here to allow for a boat in the front yard. If that's the case, I think 26 is a nice number. It seems to be relatively easy to enforce. It's one class of boats. And then it would still have to not go into the right-of-way or the sidewalk or anything like that. And I think that we should consider maybe just saying a maximum of 3. You can have one in the front yard, a maximum of 3 on the property, and they have to be tagged and licensed like that, and not have a maximum in your backyard. You can have up to 3 apparently, but I think that forcing one to be in the front yard if you got more than one that's a problem. I don't know if there's appetite for that. Somebody would.
I like that suggestion.
That's a good suggestion.
Well, we would have to amend this now, and I'm just trying to think of how the language would read in section E, here where it is on page 50 of our packet. Here it is.
So E would be exactly as it's read. I mean, that wouldn't change because that's just the one in the front yard on an improved surface. Trying to get to where it's talking about the one in the backyard.
That is in subsection E. It's the start of the second sentence. I think you would probably want to amend that from 1 to 3 additional vehicles may be stored in the side or rear yard of the residential property.
Starting with the one.
Okay. So if that second sentence just said a maximum of 3 recreational vehicles may be stored in the side or rear of the residential property, that would take care of them, right?
Yes.
Well, it's still, the first sentence still allows one recreational vehicle in the front. You're just trying to prevent them from being forced to put one of the vehicles that
Correct.
are in the back of the
Yeah,
front.
yeah.
So we wouldn't say one additional, we would say up to 3 recreational vehicles may be stored in the side or rear yard.
Yeah, but we want to be clear that that's not in addition to the one in the front.
Right, so then we would have to, probably the best way to do it is then add a sentence to say there's a maximum of 3 per property, recreational vehicles. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, we could just say recreational vehicles may be stored in the side or rear yard of the residential property, a maximum of 3 per residential property.
Right, and one okay.
Well, what if
We
you
can
said
work on
a
the
maximum?
language, but I think we understand what you're getting at.
So we're going to do this amendment tonight then?
Is there, let's see. Can you go to the next item and I'll try to write something up and run it by staff and then we can do it?
I think that's a good idea.
I do have a couple cards on this item. Is the public hearing done from the last time, or?
I wasn't here at that meeting, so I don't recall if we closed the public hearing or not.
So I don't believe we did. Well, let's go ahead and listen to the public comment, and then if, maybe we'll change direction a little bit based on public comment, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. First is Dwight Bolanowski.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, staff, public. Once again, we're going to be dealing with this topic tonight, and I want to thank Commissioner Holmes, who asked us to, quote, step up to the plate regarding the ideas and the information that was done, and we applaud the work that you have completed on it. We are applauding also the removal of the 50-foot rule, but the boat and the trailer are considered one RV. You can have a length of 25 or 26 foot for a vessel, but the boat is not going to be removed off that vessel and set on a person's lot. It just doesn't work that way. So 25 feet, accommodating the 4 to 5 foot for the tongue, which becomes still the RV, should be the most at 30 feet. So with that, the boat and the trailer are, we don't have to be like other cities. Largo can be unique and completely different, accommodating your residents. We understand that a lot of the people here are not familiar with boats and RVs. They're fun to have, but we also understand you don't understand what we are dealing with when you have these types of vehicles and vessels. So it makes sense to sit back and think about it and say, hey, this is a number, again, like the 50-foot, which you removed. A 30-foot length would accommodate a decent RV, be it a travel trailer, be it a boat, or be it a motorhome. I have a 61-foot length lot from the sidewalk to my neighbor's back fence, and it's 23 feet wide. So 30 feet really is not that much of a difference or an, quote, eyesore when it's sitting on the side of your house. So we ask once again that we have given you information. Please reread and rewatch and look at the figures and take in consideration that this is a vehicle and it needs to be placed someplace. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Peltier?
Michael Pelletier, Largo, Florida. Please forgive my appearance. I had to rush to get here tonight real quick. It's interesting, for the last year or so, I've been trying to get in touch with private meetings, because 6 minutes won't get it, with Mr. Smith, and I was rejected. I also voluntarily asked to help Mr. Gerard, was rejected. Between the 21st of last month and today, I asked for a meeting with the mayor so that I could go over some points, and I was rejected. So it's hard to cover everything in the little bit of time I have. There's so many holes in this ordinance, and I'm grateful that y'all caught one of the biggest ones. Now, the problem with giving candy to the baby, letting people have recreational vehicles 2, 3 in their backyard for a long time, is now you got to take that candy away. And you guys recognize that tonight, which is great. You could have recognized it weeks ago if you let me have my appointments I asked for. But nonetheless, the way the other cities in the area handle that is interesting. They just simply say, put up a 6-foot fence, right? And whatever fits in the backyard, for the most part, is what you can have behind a 6-foot fence. Now, we don't have any regulations that I'm aware of that have a 6-foot fence as part of the backyard parameter definitions. We don't have that. People put them up out of courtesy, but it's not required. And because it's not stated that you can't have boats in the backyard, people can put boats in the backyard with or without a fence as it currently stands, right? We're going to change that, and one is not enough. I agree completely. A sliding scale is a great idea, something to accommodate the very large lots. But get behind a fence on the usual lot, it takes care of itself. I got many other things to discuss. If somebody wants to grant me an appointment, I'll be glad to share those with you. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Matthew Faustini.
Good evening again, everyone. Matt Faustini, 1015 Lake Palms Drive, Largo. I wasn't planning on speaking at this. I think we've already dealt enough time with this one issue. I mean, this is our 3rd meeting now that we're dealing with this. This is an 18-page amendment. We've spent 3 meetings now talking about 1 page of an 18-page ordinance that affects some of pretty much the richest people in our community. The reason why I say that, because the mayor brought up no limits in the backyard. And I talked earlier, and the reason why I decided to come up and speak was hard choices. Tell me how we're going to build ADUs in backyards if people can have multiple recreational vehicles in their backyards. What incentives are we delivering to homeowners to try to utilize that space to redevelop it? That is the big push. ADUs is our big push. The space we have are in backyards. It's time to pass this. City staff has worked tremendously hard to meet everyone's demands. This isn't perfect. No one got everything they wanted, and that's what a compromise is. Some people get what they want. Some people, you give and take. It's not perfect, but let's get this done. Let's protect the real purpose of this 18 pages, which was to help working class families who have trucks that they drive and are marked and have equipment that they have to take back and forth to work that they couldn't legally keep on their property above a setback. That was what this original ordeal was meant to help create. And now we have spent a month and a half talking about boats and RVs. I'm sorry that I sound a little frustrated, but I feel someone needed to say it. So thank you all.
Thank you.
That's all cards.
Thank you. I had one question that came up from some of the comments. Is there a limit on the size? Like if somebody has a big backyard and access to it or whatever, is there a limit currently on the size of a recreational vehicle they could have in their backyard?
Currently, no.
And would this restrict the size they could have legally in the backyard?
No, not in the backyard.
Okay, that's what I thought, and I just wanted to be clear on that. Thank you. Or side yard.
Yes.
So do you have any, some new language for us?
I do. I'm just writing the motion for you, if you can give me one more second.
That's all right.
Okay. So if you want to make this change, let me just note procedurally, You'll have to make two, I think the easiest way to do this is to make two motions to amend the ordinance. The one motion that's in the commission memo is to amend the ordinance to make the changes that staff has described to you. And then the second would be to make the change to section 14 of the ordinance, and that's that section, subsection E, the second sentence. So we propose that the second sentence would now read as follows: recreational vehicles may also be stored in the side or rear yard of the residential property, but no more than a total of 3 recreational vehicles may be stored on any residential property. If that meets your intent, I'll read the motion and somebody can make this motion. I move to amend section 14 of ordinance number 2024-01 by amending the second sentence of section 11-78E to read as follows: recreational vehicles may also be stored in the side or rear yard of a residential property, but no more than a total of 3 recreational vehicles may be stored on any residential property. Hopefully I got yours.
So that would be the second.
I captured your intent.
I will make that motion for the purpose of discussion, if we can get a second.
I just want to make sure, Alan, you said the first would have to be the staff one, then this one? Or just this one?
It doesn't matter which order you do it. You're just going to have to do 2 different motions to amend the ordinance.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Could you read that motion again?
Yeah, so you're amending section 14 of the ordinance 2024-01 by amending the second sentence of section 11-78E of the code to read as follows: recreational vehicles may also be stored in the side or rear yard of a residential property, but no more than a total of 3 recreational vehicles may be stored on any residential property. And so that'll come after the first sentence will remain the same, which allows 1 recreational vehicle to be parked in the front portion of a residence.
Thank you. Any questions? I had just an enforcement question. I assume that if a recreational vehicle is in front of the house at all, it doesn't have to be entirely in front of the house. If part of it's in front of the house, it would be included in that one that they're allowed in front of the house. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Vice Mayor Gerard.
Thank you, Mayor. Taking into consideration what Mr. Peltier said during his comments, and seeing that we're going to place a finite number on the number of recreational vehicles on a residential property with this amendment, when it might be possible to require, to allow as many recreational vehicles as a family has if they put up a fence, which would be a site barrier and a barrier, would we be better to amend the ordinance in that fashion? So instead of saying you could have just 3, somebody might have 5. But as long as there's a site barrier, it's not going to hurt anybody or cause a problem for anybody, for any neighbors. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is to that, but I suggested I'm okay having a limit. In fact, I think you suggested having a limit, and that's a new thing that we're doing, right? There is no limit currently.
Yes.
And
Well,
there is no
I actually asked if there would be a limit, but, not saying that there should be a limit, but I understand. Since we're working on this anyway, is there a way that we can do this where we aren't placing undue hardships on a family that might have more than 3 already? Which the question started out by, well, what if you had 2 in the backyard? Would you not be allowed to have 2 anymore under this ordinance? And that's when we went to 3. So what if you have 4 now? Whereas if we were to say, can place as many as would logically fit, in the rear of the property, the side of the rear of the property, so long as so long as the property is bounded by a 6-foot fence to act as a site barrier.
You could also create a used boat lot by doing that.
Well, not if they're all, titled to the residential owner and good order and have
They'd
the
still be
tag.
selling them, put format there and change them out.
I mean, I keep looking at this as part of it is we have been talking about this forever. And each conversation comes up with another avenue or another angle. And we appreciate the public. We love that you come out and speak to us, but it's been the same people at every meeting. So how many people do we have out there that have 4 or 5 recreational vehicles? Because I haven't heard from any of them. I just feel like I said, the more we talk about it, the more angles there are and the longer that this drags on. Mr. Faustini had, I think, an excellent point, how we started this conversation and where we've gotten to. So, I mean, I would love to see us wrap this up today.
Yeah, since you mentioned Mr. Faustini's point, which I appreciate that perspective, I do know that there's a house near me that has an accessory dwelling unit, and that person that lives in the accessory dwelling unit has a little John boat, right? So I don't think the owner of the place has a boat, but if he did, I want to do everything we can to encourage accessory dwelling units. I don't think 3 boats are going to get in the way of that. So any other comments or questions?
Well, I also recognize that there are some families who are not the richest families in Largo, who might be a very modest means, but recreational vehicles are the way that they enjoy living here. And they may have a little John boat or a bass boat or whatever, and they may have a bass boat and a John boat and, a 20-footer or a sailboat, and that's how they enjoy their lives here.
Right.
And if we're going to do this, and it doesn't bother me that we talk about it a lot because, this is a discussion about that's going to impact people's ability to enjoy their homes. And so if we have to talk about it an extra week, all right, maybe in a couple of conversations we can come on something that works for everyone. I think that the idea of not restricting the number, as long as there's a site barrier, would work for everybody. Frankly,
I think there's probably some example. I mean, we could come up with examples where it wouldn't work. A big piece of property that has boats that have been there back there for a long time that doesn't have a fence around it.
Well, now you have to put up a fence.
Now he's got to put up a fence around his 3/4 of an acre.
Yeah, so now you would be requiring anybody with a recreational vehicle to install a fence if they don't have one. So that's basically what you would be asking.
Yeah, and I don't think we want to do that. Anybody that's got a recreational vehicle in their backyard would have to install a fence. So we do have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
So motion passes 4-2.
That was Commissioner Smith and Vice Mayor Gerard.
Vice Mayor Gerard. So the next motion was, Mr. Zimmett?
Was to make the, and it's in the commission memo, but is to make the amendments that were described by staff.
Correct.
I move to amend the ordinance number 2024-01, first reading as described by city staff. And do I read the second as? Or does that come as a second?
I'm sorry?
It says and, is that another one? Or, because I have an and.
You have an N?
And.
So it's and I move to adopt. That's after the amendment is considered.
So, okay, I just,
Yeah. So there was a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion passes 5-1. And then I'll entertain a motion, if desired, to adopt ordinance number 2024-01 as amended on second and final reading.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion passes 4-2. Thank you. Thank you for your work on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is item number 13, ordinance number 2024-09.
And we do have a presentation. Good evening, Mayor and Commission. My name is Mecca Faustini. I'm the city's Contracts and Procurement Manager, and I'm accompanied by the city's procurement analyst, Kezia Southern. We are here to present the first reading of ordinance number 2024-09, Local Supplier Preference Policy. In 2022, the City Commission instructed city staff to identify what parameters would need to be established in order to create a local supplier preference policy for the City of Largo. City staff presented this set of parameters at the October 11th City Commission work session. City Commissioners agreed at that meeting that the list encompassed a basis of which would lead the staff's research and drafting of a local supplier preference policy. These parameters include identifying the benefits that the policy provides, what businesses and what areas will be considered, the cost thresholds, and the scope of applicability, and establishing administrative procedures that are not burdensome on suppliers nor staff. Staff have identified and incorporated three main benefits that having a local supplier preference policy would bring to the city. First, it is recognized that suppliers operating their business in our local economy also live and spend in our local economy. So this policy allows the city to directly promote the health of our local economy. Second, it is recognized that local suppliers hold a certain level of local knowledge that they bring to our work that hiring an outside supplier would not bring to those projects. Finally, staff looked at the policy from a sustainability and resilience lens and recognized that the use of local suppliers can reduce transportation distances traveled to project sites and meetings. This lowered transportation need results in lowered carbon emissions being caused by vehicle travel associated with city purchases. Within the ordinance, staff has identified a local business as one that provides goods, services, or construction within the City of Largo service area, holds a physical location within the boundary of Pinellas County, has conducted business from that location for 12 consecutive months, and holds a valid business tax receipt. All of these conditions must be met in order for them to qualify for the local preference. The proposed policy will only apply to purchases $50,000 and over. Current policy identifies this as the threshold in which staff must use a formal competitive solicitation process, such as a request for proposal or an invitation to bid. If approved, the local supplier preference policy will become a standard part of these solicitations. And there is exception. The policy will not apply when other state or federal regulations prohibit such preference. This is often the case with state and federal grant funding. For suppliers selection based on monetary value, specifically the invitation to bid, the local supplier preference will always apply when the lowest priced bid is not already a local supplier and the local supplier is within a certain percent of the lowest offered price. For projects valued between $50,000 and $249,000, the local supplier must be within 10% of the lowest price offered. Otherwise, the award still goes to the supplier with the lowest price offered, regardless of their preference status. This percent goes down as the purchase value goes up. with purchases valued between $250,000 and $999,999, the local supplier must be within 5% of the lowest offered price, and purchases valued $1 million or over, they must be within 2.5% of that lowered price. For supplier selection criteria that includes more than just monetary evaluation, specifically our request for proposals and request for qualifications, those qualifying for local supplier preference will receive an additional 10% in evaluation points. As part of the solicitation pack, suppliers will be provided a single yes or no question, allowing them to opt into the use of the local supplier preference. Staff will also have a simple process of validation, as all qualifying conditions can be validated through resources that we already access in today's processes. This concludes the presentation. Kezia and I are here available to answer questions or to facilitate conversation on alternatives if what was presented does not meet what you envisioned for this type of policy.
Ordinance number 2024-09, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, amending the Largo Code of Ordinances by creating Section 2-159, establishing a local supplier preference process related to the purchase of goods and services, providing for the granting of a preference to local businesses for the procurement of personal property and contractual services under certain conditions, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
We have no cards.
Any questions? Commissioner Holmes.
Thank you. You know, I was looking at this thing, you have this word in there repeatedly, local. And I thought, well, okay, what's local? It says in here, local is someone within Pinellas County. Which, that's local enough. But then you said they must have a local business receipt. Well, the county doesn't require one. So are we telling them if they're going to do business within the city of Largo, say as a subcontractor, they'd have to get a business tax receipt from us, although where they are located within the confines of county property, they don't need one?
Yes, sir. It would be a business tax receipt from anywhere in the county, so they could get it from the municipality they're located within or from the county, but one would have to be present.
It's my understanding the county doesn't have a business tax. They don't require it. So I'm just curious, that's all. This is basically, it's a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
I have one question, or a couple questions on, in regards to construction projects. You know, are we going to evaluate only the prime contractors local, so their subcontractors or their suppliers don't necessarily have to be local, just the prime construction contractor?
The way it's written, it would be the primary submission only.
And you know, there's a state law that talks about this, and it says that if we use state money for a construction project, that you can't have a local preference or hard to hire ordinances. And I sent the city attorney, I think, the wrong code reference, the wrong city, the wrong state code on that. But we ought to do some research on that, because I do think that, you know, having construction within this ordinance will create some problems. I don't know if it'll really give us the benefit we want. I support the other line items, but except for construction, ironically, because I'm in the construction business and I'm local. So, but I think we should maybe remove construction, because I don't know if that'll get us what we want here. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 2024-09 on first reading and schedule a second reading and public hearing on January 16, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 5-1. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is ordinance number 2410 on first reading.
Mr. Zimmett, could you get us that information that Commissioner Johnson, before the next reading? I would be interested and could sway my vote if that is an issue.
I'll get you that information. I just, what I forwarded on was the wrong code.
Thank you.
My lobbyist sent it, or the association lobbyist sent it to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. This is the first reading of an amendment of certain fees within the fee ordinance for the Recreation, Parks, and Arts Department. The fee changes outlined in the memo include removing the non-resident premium for summer camp. All other program fees within the ordinance are outlined as member, non-member, with summer camp being the only program that continues to charge a non-resident premium. This causes confusion and frustration to our participants, especially those participants that participate in our year-round child care programs and are not required to pay premium throughout the year. Staff calculated the revenue loss due to this change and are recommending that it would be more equitable for users to recover this through an increase in our non-resident membership fees. The proposed increase in non-resident membership fees will remain lower than other municipalities in the area. The recommended change in the membership fees also includes an addition of a 3-month non-resident membership for our seasonal members, and there will be no change to resident membership fees. A second change to the membership structure would add the option for members to choose a higher tiered membership that includes the use of the fitness room, Play World at Highland, and lap swimming at Southwest Pool, all of which they have to pay separately for now. Those that would purchase a membership for other purposes, such as childcare or to register in individual classes, would still have the option to purchase a basic membership. Other recommended changes in the fee ordinance include updates to childcare and rental fees to align with other providers in the area. And staff are available for any questions.
Ordinance number 2024-10, an ordinance of the City of Largo, Florida, amending Section 10 of Ordinance number 2000-32 as amended to amend certain fees charged by the Recreation, Parks, and Arts Department, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have any cards on this?
We have one card, Matthew Faustini.
Good evening again. Matt Faustini, 1015 Lake Palms Drive, Largo. I know it's probably too late for this, but when I was reviewing the changes, what stood out to me was I noticed that we didn't have any rates for kids that are on free or reduced lunch or on SNAP benefits. It didn't seem from what I looked at that we were doing that. So I think that's something we should definitely consider. I know when I was a kid in the 2000s, my rec card cost me $3, and we had a free outreach center in our neighborhood that provided us free and reduced lunches. So I know the city in the past has worked with the Department of Agriculture to see how those benefits can correspond, because it's not just about food, it's also about fitness and other things. And for a lot of kids, free or reduced lunch isn't just about a lifeline for food. So for someone like me, I didn't need it for food, but what it did, it paid my SAT prep fees. A lot of people don't know that. So there are a lot of things that can be done to help. And I just think it was such a huge value to me to have that kind of support. For instance, Largo Little League at the time had reduced rates for those on free or reduced lunch. That's how I was able to afford to pay Largo Little League baseball. So it's just a huge part of helping those lowest income kids have the opportunity to have access to the same quality of service as everyone. So I know it's not something we can probably do this year or on this motion, but definitely something I hope we could look at for next year in the budget process. Thank you.
Mr. Zimmett.
Yes, sorry I didn't bring this up before, but I just noticed tonight I'm a little concerned the ordinance that is included with your agenda is a draft. It's not the signed version. I don't know if we can tell you this represents the final version, but there's comments, staff back and forth in this version.
Well, we wanted them to have, to be able to see clearly with the strike-throughs and underlines. There is a version that Ms. Parsons signed, correct?
That is where? I'm sorry?
That Ms. Parsons signed a finalized version.
Okay, but does the commission have that, access
No.
to that one?
I can provide that, though.
The concern I have is that you don't know what you're adopting.
You want a motion to postpone this?
Yeah, I would like a motion to continue this item until the next meeting.
Do you want the motion, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, unless there's any questions that might be addressed between now and the next meeting additionally, we could discuss that as well. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to continue this until the next commission meeting in January.
I move to continue ordinance number 2024-10 till the next meeting, which is
January 2nd.
January 2nd, 2024.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-6-0. Thank you. We'll see you in January.
Apologize for that I didn't catch that sooner.
Mr. Zimmern, anything to add?
Just wish everybody a happy holiday and new year, and we'll see you in 2024.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
Just wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, be safe, spend time with your family and those. And with the resolution we did with homelessness, it's a difficult time for many people. Working in a library, we've seen a lot of new individuals and what they're going through. So if you can reach out as best you can, or help a church or an organization that's helping them out in this time of need, is definitely a very nice thing we all need to be doing, and thinking of the less fortunate out there. I always say I'm quite blessed that I'm able to do the things I am because of things my parents and choices, but some people fall in really hard times, and we can't judge them. We have to show open kindness and help them out as best we can. And so, again, wishing everybody a happy holiday, support your loved ones and help out where you can. The only other thing would be every year the city does collect, and this is after Christmas, but the city waste department does collect Christmas trees after they recycle them. So after Christmas, if you have a leftover tree you want to put it out by 7 o'clock on your recycle day, and the city will pick up your Christmas tree and recycle it for you. And that's all I have. Thank you.
And those are natural trees, and take the
Yes.
decorations off. Just to be clear. Thank you. Commissioner Holmes.
Speaking of New Year's, I hope all of us have availed ourselves of the opportunity to read the video that the Florida League of Cities has put out concerning this new financial disclosure law. I think they call it page 6. Form 6. I've read through that form, and I watched the video, and this is a terrible bill. I mean, this is bearing your soul to the public. I mean, they want information in there that's none of their business. And then I just learned that the St. Petersburg Beach City Council, they have all resigned except for the mayor over this. And I guess if you go up to beaches right now, the resignations are epidemic in the city councils. I don't know how, Tampa and St. Petersburg, how they're faring on the thing. I think it would be appropriate for us to send a letter to the governor and and also the president of the Senate and the Speaker of the House, our opposition to this form, how it should be repealed, or certain aspects of it should be removed, because some of the stuff they ask, it's just none of their damn business. It's that. I hope you've taken the chance to read through this thing, but it's a terrible bill. That's merely my opinion. Also, I gave a suggestion, seeing as the parade was canceled, and I think most of us have stuff that we were going to pass out during the parade. I thought it'd be kind of neat. Perhaps Christmas weekend, just go down to Central Park and give the stuff out. I mean, I got a whole box of beads. I mean, if anybody wants some fine jewelry, I'll give you some fine jewelry. But it's just a thought. I guess, we get PD to go down there. They might be nice to us, because I know they were going to hand out candy, and I think they bought a pile of candy. So I don't know if there's any interest in doing that or not. You can all speak up at once. Anyway. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. If you're going to be traveling, don't post your travel plans online. Tell us how nice it was once you get back. That's it, thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Gerard.
Thank you. First, for Commissioner Johnson, I believe on page 64 of our commission packet, under exceptions to the local supplier preference policy, I think your concern is addressed there.
Okay, great, thank you.
It says purchases agreements which are funded in whole or in part by federal, state, or other grant funds where such funding prohibits application of local preferences are accepted. They can't be done.
Awesome.
And I like the idea of handing out beads and candy in Central Park if it can be arranged in time. I won't be able to attend, but love to see pictures of you, Commissioner.
I'll save you some fine jewelry.
Okay, great. And Gasparilla is coming up in February. But during this holiday season, I want to wish everybody a safe and peaceful holiday season. And maybe as we're going through this, we can consider that we're all human beings. We all have needs, wants, and desires. Most of us want to live in peace and not be bothered by other people so we can live in peace. And just consider maybe being a little bit more receptive to people who are not exactly the same as we are. I think that'd be, personally, I think that would be a nice thing to do during this holiday season. So thanks very much. I'll see you in January.
Thank you, and the rest of the year.
Yes, I'll see you starting in January.
No, I'm saying be nice to people that are different than yourself, not just during the holiday season.
No, I thought that was just for today.
Commissioner Hulk. Thank you.
Just again, I'd like to say thank you to the Largo Elks for their continued support to our police department and their senior assistance program. It's a huge chunk of change that will really help out that program. Again, thank you to all of our departments throughout the whole year and all the hard work that all of you have done to help us get through each and every ordinance, whether it took 2 meetings or 5 meetings. But you all are just absolutely amazing to work with. And as always, I have felt like you make us look good up here because you guys are amazing. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and Happy Holidays to everybody. And I think there's a lot of people have lost loved ones this year. So just remember, it's not what's under your tree, but who's around it, and celebrate your family. Hug everybody every day and tell them how much you love them. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson.
I just want to thank our staff and all the people that volunteer for the city for all the hard work that they put in this year. Very blessed to live in this city for a very long time, and I love it here. And so I just thank all of our team and wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you, and Happy Holidays.
Thank you. I wanted to just mention the old-fashioned Christmas parade that had to be canceled. I appreciate, I'm the parade chairman this year. And I appreciate all of the understanding we had 65 participants that didn't get to go out for a parade. I don't think there would have been anybody on the route anyways because it was pouring from noon to 1. Well, it was pouring all day, but it was really pouring from noon to 1. And we spent about a day and a half trying to figure out if there was any way we could postpone it to Sunday or next Saturday, and just there's too many moving parts and something like that to make that happen. So all of the participants, the people that were signed up to be in the parade, were very understanding and are already excited for next year, December 21st. Mark your calendar, noon downtown. So I'd like to also thank staff and all the volunteers that volunteer for the city for a great year, and everybody does excellent work at the city, and certainly appreciate all of that. I'd like to thank you guys for we don't always agree, but we sometimes talk for a month about parking in the front yard with a boat or something, and we kind of hash through things because I think everybody up here really wants to do what we think is best. Again, we don't always agree, but we're respectful to one another, and it's still fun to be here, and I think it's because of you guys. So thank you for that. lastly, I wanted I've got a card here that has, it's my business card. It says Woody Brown, Mayor. It's got my cell number and my email address, both of which I generally see. Mr. Pelletier, this is for you because I did not see an email or a phone call from you. So you have all the information now. So I met with a resident today. I met with a resident yesterday. I meet with people. So if you tried to reach out, I don't know how it got lost, but this will get to me. And Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to acknowledge all the hard work that our team has done during the holiday season, and especially ask everyone to keep in mind our first responders and those for the city that will be working through the holiday season, working for us so that we can have a safe season with our families. So thank you.
Thank you. Any action items?
The only one I had was Commissioner Smith requested the information from Commissioner Johnson.
I think we're good on that.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
And he's going to get it to you, or should I get it?
I can still get it.
Okay.
I think it's for
Late night reading, I'm down for.
I think it's for the city attorney to answer the question that was raised by Commissioner Johnson, and he's going to send me the information, and I'll provide the commission with the response.
Okay.
About the local preference ordinance.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned. Have a great Christmas.
Happy